Hey everybody, so one of my favorite videos that I do every month is when I get to share with you new releases that have just come out or are coming out very soon that I think you are going to love and need on your TBR. You know, when you come to my channel, I don't always talk about the books everybody's talking about, so I love if I can get you to see some books that maybe you haven't heard of or you have heard of and you just need my little push to get them on your TBR. So, without further ado, let's get started. Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. It's Russell with Ink and Paper Blog. How are you doing today? As always, I hope you're happy, I hope you're healthy, I hope you're safe, and of course I hope you're reading an amazing book or two or three or four. It is a fantastic day in Northern California. It's the middle of the week. My life is crazy because I have my two nephews here, and work is crazy as always, but you know, I'm enjoying it, and I'm here to do one of my favorite videos. I love talking about books that are just come out or are coming out that I think you are going to love as my viewers, as fellow readers. I just love it. It's one of my favorite things to do. So as always, get out your pen, get out your paper, get out your Goodreads, get out however you keep track of your TBR. If you're so able, please order these books from your local independent bookstore or have your library get you a copy as soon as possible. The first book that I want to tell you about is one that came highly recommended by my friend Jana. I have been in a book club with Jana, I think for over 10 years now. She is a wonderful, lovely person, and she very rarely will come out and say, you all must read this book. So when she said that, you know I had to pick it up. And luckily for me, Riverhead had sent me this beautiful finished edition of The Displacements by Bruce Holsinger, out again from Riverhead Books. So thank you very much, Riverhead. So how to explain this book? So basically, at its heart, it's a story of a tropical storm, a hurricane, a category 6, the first ever in history, that comes up to Florida, off the coast of Florida, and winds out wiping out Florida. So part of the story is sort of the science and the nature behind the event that is a hurricane. The second part of this story is the story of a family that is in its own sense of distress, that is moved to Miami. It's a mother, a father who is a doctor, and she's an artist, and they have three children that live with them. One has just sort of dropped out of college and returned home. They have all these issues. Now the storm hits, the doctor gets pulled to the hospital, and the family gets in the car and they're going with their family dog. There is obviously a lot. And then the other part of this story is this really well done. The thing that I'm really sort of loving how it adds like this 360 element to the whole entire narrative is the point of view from the response to this event. And it's done in two times. It's done real time, and it's also done in these like historical documents that get interwoven within the narrative and sort of explain different points of view of people who had to flee. It explains how the response happened, and as I imagine, as the thing goes on, sort of how everything sort of fell apart. I will tell you right now, this is one of the most intense books that I have ever read in my entire life. At times my heart stops. I have to close it. There's one instance I was reading this book and there's a decision that has to be made with the dog, and I put it down, and everything like that it's so intense, but it's brilliant. Jana is not wrong. It is really, really good. But be ready, because it's like something's sitting on your chest because everything's going on. Oh, goodness. But it is fantastic. So that's Displacements by Bruce Holsinger, out now from Riverhead Books. You may remember Bruce. He wrote The Gifted School that was out a couple of years ago. He has a number of novels, but I know we were talking about that one on BookTube quite a bit. So I'm really enjoying that. Really hope that one winds up on your TBR. The next two books that I'm going to tell you about are paperback editions that have just been released. One of them I've talked about on my channel before. Ryan has recommended it as one of his favorite reads of the year so far. We are both back from vacation, so we will be producing our second top 3 of the year so far, so I'm really excited about that. But he talked about Bola by Pajtim, and I'm going to hold this up here because I really struggle with his Pajtim's last name here. And this is out, the paperback is out from Vintage. This book takes place in 1995 in Kosovo. We have, and in Kosovo, he is, our main character is Albanian. Kosovo is very sort of hostile towards Albanians. He is newly married. He is there for school. And he meets another gentleman, a man named Milos. And 2 things sort of happen. One, his wife announces she's pregnant, and 2, he begins this sort of secret love affair with Milos. But then war comes into play. War winds up sort of interfering with everything, and things sort of our main character, what's his name? I'm sorry. Arsum is sort of gone out of the country, but Milos stays there, and it gets very dark for him, and a lot of things happen. So I'm not going to talk too much about it because we've talked about it a number of times on my channel, but thank you very much, Vintage, for sending me Bola. And Pajtim, I'm going to just put your last name up there one more time, and this is out in paperback now. You can get your hands on it. The next book I want to tell you about is a collection of short stories called Objects of Desire. This is by Clare Sestanovich. I'm hoping I'm saying Claire's last name correctly. What I really love is it says, this is fresh, powerful stories, thrilling desire, and melancholic yearning animate women's lives from the brink of adulthood to the labyrinthian path between 20 and 30 to middle age, with certain possibilities quietly lapse. I've started the first story. It's about a college freshman, I believe, returning home. She's got this way with her words, just to sort of, she sets a space right away. Like, I totally knew where I was, what I was supposed to be feeling, sort of this sense of claustrophobia on a plane between 2 people when you are maybe an introverted person. It's very, very good so far. So that's Objects of Desire by Clare Sestanovich. Out again, this is out from Vintage as well, so thank you very much, Vintage. Again, both paperbacks out now. The next book I want to make sure I tell you about is The Lunar Housewife by Carolyn Woods. This is out from DoubleDay. When I was trying to figure out how to summarize this book, I'm like, goodness, this book has got a lot going on, and all of it sounds absolutely fantastic. So we're in the early 1950s in New York City. Our main character she's doing really well. She's a writer in her boyfriend's magazine, literary magazine. She's really getting noticed. Of course, it's under a pseudonym, so it's not her name. And she's in the process, her love life is very good. She's very much in love with her boyfriend, and she is writing a book, a science fiction novel called The Lunar Housewife. And one night she overhears a conversation between her boyfriend and another person about the magazine, and sort of about this idea of censorship and taping calls and investigating people. And as she starts to track and investigate this herself, she realizes that the strings of the magazine are maybe being pulled by someone else with more power. And what does she want to do with that? Because things keep falling in her lap. And does she not say yes, yes? And one of those things is, I believe, an interview with Ernest Hemingway, who is, as at this time, one of the great American writers writing. And then also, all of this is affecting her novel itself, The Lunar Housewife. So I think that sounds excellent. I think it sounds really interesting. I love this idea of 1950s New York offset with this science fiction novel. I'm very interested to see how Carolyn Woods does that. So again, this is The Lunar Housewife by Carolyn Woods, out from DoubleDay. Okay. This is a very small press book that was sent to me, and I could not be more thrilled. And that is One Breath from Drowning by Kent Quaney, and I'm sorry, Kent, if I'm saying your last name incorrectly. Kent is, I believe, an assistant professor of English at Auburn University in Montgomery. I am very familiar with Auburn. I've been to Auburn University. My ex-husband actually went to Auburn. And I know this is in Montgomery versus the one that I've been to, but I know how Auburn is. So this is actually published, though, by the University of Wisconsin Press, and I want to say thank you very much to them to sending me this finalized copy. And this is one of those books. So this is the story of a relationship between two men. One is a closeted ex-Mormon aspiring actor, and one is an Australian sort of party boy whose family's wealth and sort of his position in society has always sort of gotten him out of everything. And their love affair is just strained by really their history and their tendencies at not looking at themselves full face and their own sort of self-deceptions. They do find sort of these moments of joy together, but it's really always, what's the word I'm looking for? It's always tarnished a little bit by the things that go on. And it says in the back of the book that there's arrests, infidelities, addictions, and they finally just have to figure out what in the world is holding them back. So that's One Breath from Drowning by Quaney, and this is out from the University of Wisconsin Press. Sorry for that little diatribe about Auburn University. Had nothing to do with anything, but just sharing a little bit. The next book that I'm going to tell you about, and if you want a full review of this, you can check out Read by Ryan on Instagram, because he just posted one, and that is Hawk Mountain by Connor Habib, and this is out from Norton. This book sounds really, really frightening to me, in so much as when I was in high school, I was a chubby, nerdy kid, like picked on constantly. So the idea of this book horrifies me. So we have our main character, his name is Todd. He's a single father. He's relaxing on the beach one day when he sees this man walking up to him, and it turns out to be a man who bullied him, like significantly bullied him while he was in high school. And then this man all of a sudden is like so excited to see Todd. Don't trust it. I don't trust it. Don't believe it. Wants to catch up and all that, and then asks to spend the night. And as you can imagine, nothing good is going to happen. It says, as Jack, that's the bully, invades Todd's life, pain and intimidation from the past unearth knife-edge suspense in the present. Set in a small town on the New England coast, this debut introduces characters trapped in isolation by the expansive woods and the encroaching ocean, their violence of expression and repressed desire, and the damage it can inflict. So, there's that. Part of me is like, can I read this book? I have a feeling it's going to trigger a lot of things. Other part of me says, it sounds fantastic. You absolutely need to read this book. So again, that's Hawk Mountain by Connor Habib, out from Norton. Do any of you have any experiences that are going to be like, yeah, that could be a little triggering for me. But I've heard it's really, really good, so I'm super excited. Okay, so the next book I want to tell you about is Brother Alive by Zain, Khalid, and this is out from Grove. So let me do that with the cover real quick. This is the story of three boys in the 1990s. Very, very different. One is Nigerian, one is Korean, and one is Middle Eastern, and they are all adopted into one family. So they become brothers together, and they live in a house perched above in Staten Island above a mosque. And then yeah. And so things happen, as you probably imagine. So Yosef, who is the Middle Eastern, he shares everything with his brothers except for one secret. He sees a hallucinatory double, an imaginary friend who seems absolutely real, a shape-shifting familiar he calls Brother. Brother persists as a companion in Yosef's adult life, supporting him but also stealing his memories and shaking his grip on the world. Don't like it. The boy's adopted father is known in the community for his stirring and radical sermons, but at home he often keeps to himself, spending his evenings in his study with whiskey-laced coffee, reading poetry, or writing letters to his former compatriots back in Saudi Arabia. Like Yusuf, he too has secrets, including the cause of his failing health and the truth of what happens to the boy's parents. The truth of what happened to the boy's parents, all from those different backgrounds. Have to know, right? Have to know. But years later, they wind up, the father winds up back in Saudi Arabia, and the boys are sort of forced to follow, and they're, going to find out all of the good stuff that we probably know that's going to happen. And it sounds fantastic. I cannot wait to see how Zain brings all of those different sort of pieces together. So that's Brother Alive by Zain Khalid, and this is out from Grove. And you can get your hands on this one now, I'm sure. So all of these are out or out very, very soon. The next is another short story collection by K-Ming Chang, who wrote Bestiary. Do you remember that was out about a couple years ago now, and we were all talking and raving about it? I think that was her debut novel. This is her story collection, Gods of Want. Both of K-Ming Chang's novels have phenomenal covers. They are so good. So thank you, One World, for sending this to me. Thank you for these amazing, amazing covers. Now, these stories seem to be all over the place, but they all sound amazing. So all over the place, and that it's going to be hard for me to sort of wrap them up in a single statement. So the book says, K-Ming Chang gives us her own take on a surrealism that mixes myth and migration, corporality and ghostliness, queerness and the quotidian. Stunningly told in her feminist, fabulous style, there are uncanny stories peeling back greater questions of power and memory. So I've read the first story, and it is fantastic. And she's just an amazing new writer on the scene. So that's God of Wants Stories by K-Ming Chang, out from One World. And I know I mentioned his channel before, and I'm totally blanking on everything. I will try to link his channel, Jalen's, and his interview with K-Ming that he did not that long ago, if I can find it. So no, you know what? I think it was on Instagram. I don't think I can link it. Go follow him. Bars in the bookcase. This is what happens when I try to go off script, people. This is what happens. The next is one of my most anticipated graphic novel reads of the entire year, and that is the most beautiful Our Colors by Gengoroh Tagame, translated from the Japanese by Anne Ishii. I read My Brother's Husband duology and absolutely loved it. I love his art style. I'll put it up there for you all. This is the story of a young 16-year-old boy who, more than anything, in contemporary Japan, I should say, who more than anything just wants to live a out gay life. But, you know, in Japan, it's not really supported. There's a lot of animosity that he has to deal with. He has his best friend, and then he meets an older man who runs a coffee shop who is out and unapologetically gay. And their relationship, how that helps him develop who he's going to be. I can't wait to read it. I will probably read it next after. I may need something that's not as intense as the Displacements, but I'm super, super excited about Our Colors by Gengoroh Tagame, translated from the Japanese by Anne Ishii, and out now from, Pantheon. I should have said that. Pantheon. I love Pantheon. They've done all of his books, and they are just so good and so beautiful. So let me see if I can get all of these into a pile. You know how hard that is for me sometimes without dropping them. We will do a little prayer to the book gods that this will work. There you go. There you go. So that's a pretty eclectic, fantastic list of books. I hope that they... I gotta get them over there before I drop them. I hope that every single one of them winds up on your TBR. I really, really do. I hope that they all sound fantastic to you. As always, if you are a return subscriber to my channel, I cannot do this without you. Thank you so very, very much. If you are new to my channel, I hope you hit subscribe, click the bell, all of that fun and exciting stuff. And as always, I encourage you to read globally, shop locally, and until next time, I wish you happy reading. Bye, everybody.